Hello and welcome back to Vintage Story. This next video is different from the last video as I've crunched over 4.5 hours of gameplay into roughly 14 minutes of video. I hope you all enjoy. Whenever I play Vintage Story, I always like to start my day out doing menial tasks like collecting resources like clay, reeds, and gathering meat. This just so happened to be a good opportunity to fight these wolves who are encroaching on my territory. I start by digging a pit to capture the wolf in so that I can poke him from above with a spear. Putting the ladder in is dangerous as the wolf can get over it, and sometimes the wolf won't go inside the hole and will simply just go around and bite you. So it's dangerous to do this strat. I don't recommend fighting wolves at an early level. I just seem to get a lot of them. As you can see, even after taking a spear and getting real close, this wolf still doesn't want to take the bait and run after me. It might have something wrong with it. I just believe that the wolf doesn't see you as a threat worth fighting and continues to ignore you until you provoke it to fight. I poked the wolf a few times for good measure for biting me, and I gotta get to work planting my reeds for the future. I cook up a nice pot of mushroom stew, and I begin to organize my house for tomorrow, as I've got a big day ahead of me. Start the morning out with some berries, and then I get to my morning chores, cleaning up the wolf and planting my birch trees, as well as collecting some sticks and logs for later. I happen upon a cave near my house as well, and I stumble into it only to find what I believe is a translocator or some kind of teleportation device from the Rush dimension. I don't know too much about the lore, but I know that this thing is really cool. Kind of like a nether portal. Pick a fight with a couple more wolves who are getting near my house, and always come out on top. The Wolf Slayer. After cleaning up the wolf, I head home and I make a couple storage vessels to fire in the morning, as well as a few other things. I start my farm, and then I search for some seeds all through the rest of the day, finally stumbling upon some carrot seeds that will help start my first garden. I realize there's a snowy mountain real close to my house and decide that I want to climb it to check if I can collect ice and make an ice room to keep food stored longer. I don't believe that the game has this implemented, but I want to check if it is. Anyways. I collect the ice I came up here for, and then I decide to find the tallest peak and say that I climbed the tallest mountain in my area, which I don't believe is the tallest, but certainly felt like it. I gently find my way down a waterfall and I run my ass home before it gets dark. When I get home, I prepare my first molds for a pickaxe and a hammer for when I find enough copper. It's always a good idea to make your clay at night before you go to bed and then fire it in the morning so that you can have it for the next day, like these storage vessels. Tomorrow I'll come back and have my pickaxe mold, as well as my hammer mold and my crucible. The next thing I'm going to need to prep for is gathering coal, or rather, wood for charcoal. I do know where some coal veins are, so they'll be useful when I get a pickaxe, but for right now we'll just have to make charcoal the old-fashioned way, so that we can make our pickaxe. After spending the whole day collecting wood and doing other chores, I quickly craft a boat and head on home. I make a ton of torches for later, and I quickly organize my house for tomorrow. I don't plan to make any clay items tonight, as I have bigger aspirations, like smithing in the morning. Before I do all that, I grab my seeds and I head out to the farm to plant whatever I have. And I also find that I grow horsetail randomly in my farm, which is useful. I plan to potentially make more plots in that area to see if more grows. I dig my charcoal pit, and then I spend the rest of the day collecting cobblestone in my area so that I can build a giant wall to protect my area from things like wolves and bears. Hence the tall walls. I noticed that bears can climb. I'm not quite sure how high they can climb, so I gave it roughly 5 blocks tall. Probably not tall enough, though. I jam a bunch of berries down my throat, and then I prepare for the next day by organizing my house and planning what I'll do. In the morning, I trim and cut down all my birch trees. And then I dig my charcoal pit out. With the charcoal set and ready, I build a fire and get ready to warm up this copper so that I can place the coal in at the end. My method is I always warm up the copper first with firewood, then logs or peat, and then finally a few pieces of coal, as charcoal is harder to come by and it's easier to use materials like firewood. I finally pour my copper into my molds and then realize that I used up my only bowl to make a light source and quickly build another and some crock pots for the next day. I make the last of my mushroom stew and begin to make a few more copper molds for tomorrow. Then I'm off to bed, waiting patiently for my bowl so that I can actually eat my meals. Waking up and realizing that my bowl is still not ready, I leave my house, quickly searching for random edibles I can find in the wild, as well as hunting a rabbit or a few rabbits for meat in the future, to never have this problem again. After finding a good selection of edibles, I also find a copper vein of not particularly good quality, but still, I dig it up anyways because I need to make an anvil. Having collected all the necessary resources for my copper anvil, I decide to call it the end of episode 2. Join me next time as I enter the Copper Age and hopefully soon the Bronze Age.